Hello, my name is Lemerck, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Season 2 of the Naval Sports League. The NSL is the premier competitive league in Holdfast's Age of Sail. The NSL is the proving ground of greatness for Holdfast's most experienced and accomplished sailors, officers, and captains. Battles take place on various maps with unpredictable wind conditions, forcing teams to plan for the best but adapt to the worst as the whims of fortune demand. We are especially excited this season for the many new features Holdfast has given us in the new Age of Sail update, adding incredible mechanics like boarding and ship capture and captain commands. We have included almost every new feature Anvil Game Studios has given us in this new update, though even with all these new dimensions to the game, the path to victory in the NSL remains the same as ever. A team wins the match in the NSL by sinking or capturing all the opponent's largest ships, the heavy, powerful 17-gun brigs and the lighter, more maneuverable 8-gun schooners. These are what we call the capital ships of the NSL, and once they are all sunk or stolen, the battle immediately ends. Each team has 35 minutes to complete this mission, and if the timer concludes before either team can completely defeat the other, then the team which has the most capital ships remaining under their control wins the battle. If both teams have the same amount of capital ships, the tie is decided in favor of whoever has the highest overall point score. There are 8 teams competing this year, some returning, some newly formed. All of them have the same goal, to put together a record of victories in their battles to make it into the top 4 teams of the league. Only the top 4 teams will have a chance to compete for the Champion's Prize, which is determined by a 2-week tournament among those top 4 teams, which will take place after the regular season ends. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope the league can inspire you to pick up Holdfast yourself, jump on a ship, and learn the art of sailing as we all have. Perhaps one day you too will compete in the Naval Sports League and burn bright in the fires of competition. The pregame coverage will begin shortly. I wish all the teams the best of luck, and I'm confident they will put on a tremendous show of courage and bravery for you to enjoy. So stick around and see what happens here at the Naval Sports League. Hello and welcome to the Naval Sports League. I am Lemerck, and it is my pleasure to be back and to be your host today for this week 10 of Season 2, Rum Rats versus the Sea Otters. I am joined today in the host box by 2 storied heroes of the NSL, Chewy of Troy and Muffin Top Scout. Gentlemen, how you doing today? Are you ready to watch what I hope will be a very good game in the NSL?
I'm quite
You know
excited.
it.
Yes. All right. Let's start with a little bit of introductions from both of you, though I feel like you are 2 guys who barely need to be introduced at this point. But let's start with Chewy. Chewy, say hello to the fans and let us know which team you will be keeping track of today with us.
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be the Rum Rats today. I think they're going to continue off the strength of their last match where they had a victory, and yeah, I'm going with the Rum Rats today.
All right, Rum Rats it is. And let's pass it over to Muffin Top Scout, our very recently gloriously victorious admiral from the last battle. Muffin Top, can you tell us who you are going to be following today in this battle?
Thank you. I'll be following the Sea Otters. And kind of funnily enough, this is I don't know if a grudge match, but kind of like a redo type of match. And the
Very
Sea
much so.
Otters, I was a mercenary during that fight for the Rum Rat, so I have a kind of an impression of how it's going to go. So I'm hoping that the Sea Otters can, pull through and really strike back at the Rum Rats.
Very good. Well, we will get even a little bit more into the details of why you think each team is going to win, some of their strengths and weaknesses, as you guys have observed. But let's first start with the league standings. Muffin Top, you have catapulted the Hydras to a 3-0 record, top of the leaderboard with an impressive points differential there at 84,501 points. A really, really, really fantastic showing in your last week's battle has put you guys right at the top. We see from there on out Leviathans, Krakens, Rumrats, Marines, Rangers, Sea Otters, and Beavers. And you can see there are those points differentials. Remember, folks, the points are very important, but they are more important in ties, in record ties. So as you can see, the Leviathans and Krakens with both a 2 and 0 are differentiated one on top of the other by the points differentials that each team has. But the Hydras, regardless of the fact that they have the 84,000 points, even if they had negative 1,000 points, they would still be on the top because of their 3 and 0 record. As these battles continue to go and we see who wins and who loses, this league standing is going to continue to fill out in its fullness before we get to the end of the season and find out who the top 4 teams are going to be and how they are going to connect with one another in those final matches to find out who's our champion. All right, let's move on to the player leaderboards. We have a very interesting situation here on the player leaderboards. Obviously, with a great showing last week, again, the Hydras are dominating the top 5 of the leaderboard with Dan Franklin at number 1, Walfie number 2, and then we have some Leviathans, Brazen and Treehouse, bringing up 3 and 4, and then let me savor this, Schlong there at 5th. What a great names we have here in the NSL and Holdfast in general. These are more tame actually than most Holdfast names. All right, so I want to make one note here. In the player leaderboard, we take stock of the top 5 scores of any individual player, whether that's in games that they're representing their team or in games which they're a mercenary. Once we record those top 5 scores, then any scores that come after that have to be checked against those top 5 scores. If the 6th game a person plays, for example, scores higher than one of those first 5, we replace the lowest of those 5 with their 6th score. Dan Frank, we can now say, has done his 5 games. So this incredible average score is now locked in for Dan Frank. That 1734 that you're seeing there, that is as low as his average score can possibly go for the rest of the season. I was just talking with Atticus before we did this, and he really wanted to make this known. Dan Frank can only go up. At this point, his lowest score is just going to be replaced if he score higher than it. So Dan Frank has an incredible luck on that first score on the player leaderboard, and I think it's going to be pretty tough for somebody to unseat him. But of course, we're here to find out if somebody does. All right, let's move on to the head-to-head, and let's get into the debates here, folks. You guys previewed some of your thoughts on the Rumrats, the Sea Otters, Chewy, and Muffin. We're going to start with Muffin Top. You are watching the Sea Otters, led by Admiral Random Billy. They have a season record of 0-2. This matchup, we are going to put 0-0. Now, this is, as you mentioned, Muffin, a kind of a rematch or a redo of a game that got derailed by some very unfortunate circumstances, some of which was on our doorstep here in the NSL, but some of it was also the game itself not functioning correctly. Those issues have since been fixed, and we are expecting a seamless game today. Now, that said, if nothing gets in the way of these two teams, Muffin, why do you think the Sea Otters may be coming out on top today with top players like Boulder, Nori, and St. Perrier?
Well, kind of first of all, there is a slight joke here that needs to be brought up. It is the fact that our French-based team is playing in the English ships, and one of our British-based teams are now playing in French ships. So obviously that will play a key factor into who wins and who loses, is
So
because
are you predicting a Sea Otters throw? Do you think they're going to throw the game
no,
to make sure the British lose?
no. I think they're gonna win and try to be like, see, it takes a real Frenchman to pilot an English ship or something like that. You know,
I will say that though the Sea Otters are led by Random Billy, the Frenchest of Frenchmen, they do have the NJ as a sizable contingent of their manpower, and I think that is a British regiment. I mean, a British, the NJ, Nassau Jaegers.
right?
I don't know their country of origin. I'm historically illiterate, but I think there's a mixture. But anyway,
Yeah,
yes,
they have
I
a good
get your
mix. They
point.
have a good mix.
They do have a good mix. Anyway, talk about a little bit about the qualities that you have seen in the Sea Otters so far.
So overall, while they're new to NSL, that's been brought up before, they they've been around either as mercenaries in the other seasons or mainly just on the naval scene for the game. So they do showcase from what I've seen in their matches that they understand the fundamentals. They understand forming up the fleet and engagements and things like that. And I'll be curious to see if they've really adapted to something where it's a mixture of line tactics and like getting in close. I am comparing every team to how I run the Hydras and that type of maybe multiple fleet formations, kind of seeing where people how creative the teams can go. And I'm hoping that the Sea Otters can do that. Can they get their ships in range, start hurting the rum rats, and then eventually make a key move that seals the deal?
Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of times in these battles that the newer teams this season are not having trouble figuring out how to form a line of battle, but like you said, kind of what to do with it once you engage the enemy, and like how to change things up, or the positioning that their line of battle requires. Sometimes they come together, and then that's where the coherence kind of ends, and then it becomes kind of a free for all, pell mell battle, as Nelson would have called it. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. All right, let's pass it over to Chewy, who's going to be watching the Rum Rats today. Chewy, I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about the Sea Otters, so trying to weave your thoughts on the Sea Otters in as you talk a little bit about the Rum Rats and why you think they're going to win today.
Well, the Sea Otters have been getting better, but they're same with the Rum Rats. The Rum Rats had a rough first match of the season against the Krakens, but they came roaring back against the Rangers and are very close to breaking even on the point differential now. They're only negative 5,000, which is not a lot. And they have right now a very solid position. Even if they lose today, as long as they don't lose by a big margin, they have the point differential over the next placed team, which has played 3 matches, which is the Marines. So
Right.
win or lose, the Rum Rats I think will hold on to fourth today, but I think they've been getting better. I think they're forming and using different tactics. They're willing to push through the enemy lines if the enemy start to corner them, and I think they are adapting better uh, than they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. I want to take a moment to congratulate both of these teams on the excess of like collegiality and fair play and understanding that both of them have showed, based on the fact that they had a battle, it was going in a direction, and then it had to basically be kind of canceled and stopped. Um, and the fact that both of these teams have shown incredible sportsmanship in agreeing to have this rematch, to make sure that the way this plays out was fair for everybody. And I really want to congratulate the Rum Rats, because they definitely seemed to have the advantage going through the last game. Nobody can take that from them, right? And we decided to keep the scores, and I don't want to get too into the details, but if they did well in that game, it's gonna count for their individual scores. But they got on board with the idea that a rematch had to happen, and I think, especially as the commissioner of the NSL, I want to make a direct thanks to these guys for their sportsmanship and the integrity that it took to be back here today competing again in the same kind of matchup. It means a lot to all of us, and it's a great example for the rest of the league on how to behave as good sportsmen and competitors. That said, I think it's hard to deny that the Rum Rats had an advantage in that last game. And so I feel like it's the Sea Otters that really have to step up today and prove that that might not have been deterministic of how today's battle is going to go. And of course, the Rum Rats are going to want to do a repeat performance of that first half of the battle before things went awry, and how well they did positionally and putting the pressure on them. I just want to make sure I didn't get to read it yet. The Rum Rats, they are a 1-1. Omos Est. Almost est. Genghis Cody and Anne Frank, incredible Rum Rats players. Watch the Rum Rats Corvette today. It is a beast. All right, so let's get over to the map preview, a familiar map. I'm going to ask Muffin, who has just literally played on this map last week, what are your thoughts on how to approach a map like this?
Well, the main factor is the wind. Do you want to bank the wind, and how can that play into maneuvering around these fairly sizable islands? So, looking at this type of fight, you can get some pretty good kind of multiple formation setup where your bigger ships can stay back, your smaller ships can maybe attack from a different angle, and that's what I'm hoping to see is that both fleets will kind of maneuver in such a way to find an opening towards one end of the map or the other, and then you see a dive, and then we kind of go from there because
Yeah.
that's kind of how we pushed them
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can see that the server is opening up right now. I'm sure we will have some camera angles for you shortly. But I'll pass it over to Chewy while we're waiting. Is there anything that maybe you want to add to that description of how this island plays out, or I'm sorry, this map plays out with these islands in this configuration?
It kind of reminds me of what Percy said last week about this map, as this map is a joust in a way. If you picture a joust riding on each side of the rails, and they can shoot between instead of just lancing each other, they can shoot between these island gaps. I'm wondering who's going to take the east first, because that I believe the advantage is going to be to the east on this map today,
Yes.
to at least start. And I'm wondering who's going to commit more to the east first and try to bank for wind for later.
Yeah. And just to, I want to make sure I clarify for the viewers at home, the teams we're going to be watching today, Rum Rats and Sea Otters. The Rum Rats are going to be on the French team, so you'll be looking out for French flags for the Rum Rats, and you will be looking out for red ships. So red ships, French flags, that's the Rum Rats. Sea Otters, yellow ships, British flags. Again, yellow ships, British flags, Sea Otters, French ships, red flags, rum rats. And we'll keep reminding you throughout the broadcast as we're watching different parts of this who is what color. We'll use our color words lots so you remember who is who. And the wind is going from the east to the west. As you take a look on the compass on the bottom left hand corner of your screens as we start getting these cameras into place. We are just about a minute out from start time here. It doesn't seem like the configurations of any of these ships are particularly eastward oriented. It kind of actually looks, at least from my perspective, and I'm going to zoom in here. Yeah, they're all both kind of on the western side of their islands that are directly in front of them there. So it doesn't seem like one or the other crews have a immediate head start off towards the east, as both Muffin and Chewy have talked about. That is the kind of that is the banking the wind start. And just to make sure if there's any new players, Muffin, what do we mean by banking the wind?
Well, I don't know the technical terms for it. I look at it as I'm trying to gain map advantage. And since the wind is blowing east to west, going into the wind, I'm going to be slower, but I'm trying to gain as much map space as possible so that when my fleet is ready to begin attacking, we can turn with the wind, gain the speed at that point, and see what we can do. So that's what it usually means.
Yeah, and historically it was called like gaining the weather gauge or having the mastery of the weather gauge, and that, like you said, meant that you got to determine when the battle started, basically, because you get to use the wind to jet towards the enemy, and they would have to go upwind to come and get you, which is against that wind. As we can see, starting off with, both teams are following the sagacious wisdom of Muffin and Chewy, and they are headed east, due east, right here and now. So the first part of this battle, what you're going to be looking for, viewers, is to see what the formation of these fleets are. And standard formation in the new Age of Sail meta seems to be to put the 8 guns closest to the enemy and have the 17 guns, the bigger ships, a little bit reserved back, shielded a little bit by those 8 guns, and then to keep the Corvette in reserve, because the Corvette, though it doesn't, just sinking it does not get you any points, it has tremendous close range firepower, and so you're waiting for a moment to use it. So any deviation from that norm of having the 8 guns closer to the enemy, the 17 guns a little further from the enemy, and the Corvettes kind of hidden away for a moment to strike, and that's what we're going to be noticing right off the bat. I think what we can see is that from the Sea Otters, Muffin, they seem to be a little bit more oriented towards the south, heading directly for the Rum Rats, whereas the Rum Rats seem to be just kind of lining up. What do you make of that, Muffin Tom?
I mean, you gotta think about it. Do you want to have an initial fight on the outside of those three smaller islands that you can see in the distance? Because Map Edge is a decent ways away. There is room to maneuver on the east side of those small islands. Or do you kind of just want to see if you can get the fight here in the middle gap area? Less room to maneuver, but once again, you're trying to force the enemy to either try to maneuver around islands while your fleet is in line and can, do the damage or not. But this is something that, it's a balance. It has to be a balance. Where do you want to go? Because looking at the rum rats right now in a from this distance, from like the overhead view of the sea otters fleet, it's like, oh, it's a pretty line, but they're all the way out there.
Yeah.
Can I take map control by being more in the middle?
Yeah. All right. So, Chewy, let's get your analysis from your end. The Rum Rats, the red ships with the French flag, they have a nice line. They're headed towards the northeast generally. Where do you think they want this battle to happen? Like, what do you think they're going to do next?
I think they wanted between the three small islands and the map border. But I do want to note one interesting thing about their formation. Have you noticed their boats yet that they brought out?
So
They've
we've
only brought
got,
out one of their two boats,
people have been
one
talking about
gunboat.
that a lot recently. That the gunboats are, kind of to be conserved. What do you think is the motive behind that?
I think they're trying to keep most of their manpower on some of their larger ships and only spare a little bit. And also, they're, even though towards sinking of vessels, gunboats and rocket boats don't matter, it's a good thing to have as a reserve fleet once you start losing some 8 guns, 17 guns, and all that. But
Yeah,
also, you're protecting points. If you don't ever lose any of your 8 guns, but you're losing all your gunboats, that can be the difference in a point differential later on in the season or just in that match individually.
true.
So, yeah, it's been talk in the Krakens to consider matches of not even using the boats at all, but or fully committing them as suicide things and go on do very particular missions. We've talked all variety of that, and I've even talked with people outside the Krakens, and yeah, there people have a lot of schools of thought. I haven't heard really of just using one at a time, but I did think that was an interesting note that I haven't seen yet this season, and the Rum Rats are using one at a time right now, for now.
Yeah, and so, that begs the question, if you only use one, you have to then guard against two. See, like it's the escalation trap, which is that you're right. Like all those points make a lot of sense. You're limiting your points loss. You're removing a very vulnerable ship from the battle. They're easy to capture. Like any larger ship that rams into a gunboat is probably going to be able to capture it within 60 seconds because you can just wipe them out. That said, it is something where you usually need gunboats to ward off enemy gunboats. And as we can see right now, Muffin, maybe you have noticed that the two gunboats from the Sea Otters are yellow British ships that are winding around that giant middle island, seem to be on a collision course with the front of the Rum Rats ships out there.
Yeah, they're about to
So,
have a bad day.
yeah, I mean, that could be catastrophic for them, to be honest, but who knows? Let's see
I
how it
mean, it
plays
is
out.
in a war of points. You can just feed them points, and now by losing these two ships, then it kind of turns into the Sea Otters now have to get more aggressive. They have to get into the fight to offset that points lost.
Generally speaking, with the gunboats, you kind of want them to be ignored. Do their dirty work while larger ships are engaged with one another. This is the exact opposite of that, and it could be very dangerous.
Yeah,
They
I do
might
think
be
the Sea
using
Otters
them
should have
as,
tried to run.
yeah, or they're trying to break up and distract the Rum Rats. But yeah, no, I don't like this move of setting the two gunboats unsupported with your fleet now anchoring far away. Like that doesn't make a lot of point sense to me.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's probably because you got to think about it, a lot of the newer teams or some teams even in general, they are very particular on their formations. Like certain people leading the way, certain ships in the formation. While
Yeah.
just from my point of view, I am very, very fluid and trying to get my guys to constantly reform and forming up their own lines. We are not very particular in how we reform our lines. It's just because this is key right here. It's distance, time. And if you waste time trying to keep your formation, you lose stuff. You lose territory. You lose positioning.
Yeah.
So
Speed is more important, I think, than formation. Getting to where you need to be, like you said. Now, what we're seeing here, though, is that there was perhaps some small benefit here, and it is that it did slow down the Rumrats just a little bit. So you can see only the beginning of that red fleet is kind of peeking out from behind the island. And what the Sea Otters seem to be doing here is getting themselves the wind, the ability to now turn to the west around this large island and cut behind. And cutting behind is a good move for them.
Yeah, they
Getting the
need to dive on
Rumrats
that
rear.
Corvette right now. Like
And I think they're gonna.
no matter the cost, they need to take out that Corvette because it's right there. It's the slowest ship in the line. They need to
yeah, now
charge
the
it and get in
Corvette's going
there.
to run. It killed its one gunboat. It was trying to at least kill one of the two gunboats. For a second, I thought it was going to escape.
Surprising that one of them managed to live, to be honest with you.
With
True.
half its health.
Yeah. You see here, the Sea Otters not really charging west and trying to turn out to get some shots on that Corvette. These 20 seconds of shots, unfortunately, are just not going to hit home like they need them to. Whereas a kind of bonsai charge to the west would get you, I think, a longer shooting opportunity at more important and specifically points-bearing ships. That said, I mean, we are watching a lot of duck and cover here from both of these teams. I think they're just waiting to get to a situation which they feel comfortable committing to a full engagement. And very clearly, the Rumrats have decided, the Rumrats in the red ships, the French ships, have decided we're going to lure these guys real far to the north and then make a stand somehow. They want the wind back, I think, and they're going to get it.
They should be. Oh, I don't know because wind changing should be happening in a couple minutes if my internal clock is correct.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is somewhat random, but also somewhat kind of predictable. It's going to happen, in those first 15 minutes. I think we're going to see something. So let's see whose bet is going to come out on top here. Right now, though, the way it looks, the Rumrats are going to be able to swing around the island. Those red ships are going to escape any real attention from the cannons of the Sea Otters. And we're going to have a battle that's probably going to be somewhere in the east-northeast.
yeah, if I was the Sea Otters right now, I would point straight at that second 17 gun and go straight at it, trying to cut off the enemy Corvette, or at least force the enemy to change up their formation.
Yeah.
They really need to not play the follow the leader or anything like that. They need to get in there and start punishing the rear of that line. Like force the Rumrats to adapt to your plan.
Yeah, and that
don't
is
do
Rumrat-
theirs.
The Sea Otters, though, did just launch a rowboat from one of their 17s to go pick up that extra supply instead of the Corvette, who purposely went around it. So I think they're trying to beef up their 17s here right early on with any and all supply they can grab.
it's a good move. Good move.
Yeah, that's a brilliant move. Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is two teams who are really taking each other seriously, right?
Yeah.
I think the Rumrats are extremely motivated to not lose this game because for all of their sportsmanship, there's no doubt that the sentiment on this team is we were going to win the last game. We better win this one. And so I think we are going to see an engagement starting now, and I think that engagement is going to favor. Honestly, it's going to favor the Rumrats in the short term. I think they're going to get more ships able to shoot across this channel. The question is if they keep circling these islands over and over and over again, they're never going to have a moment where somebody decides to get decisive here. But here they are. They're parking. So the Rumrats have chosen. This is their spot. And I think it's good because the wind seems to be, I mean, it's shifted to the southeast. So it has made a little shift. But they're scoring some shots on the Grand Folk, the rearmost 17 gun of the Sea Otters. They're taking down some of the ship HP, and they're not, I mean, it's kind of an even trade right now between the Nemesis and the Grand Folk.
Yeah, the angles here for a while, I think they did favor the Sea Otters in terms of like the 17 gun engagement. Because I'm not seeing really the 8 gun. I think the 8 guns are out of range. So,
Yeah.
that's a thing. Do you park it somewhere and let the 17s work it out? Since that's kind of their job. Long range gunnery,
Yes.
do the big damage from a distance, while your 8s might start maneuvering somewhere else for the fight.
Yeah. Now the
Yes.
question is do the Rum Rats do a port side turn here and just hold? I mean, there are so many choke points in this map. So many places where you can make a stand and you're not going to get cut off from one side or the other. And so you could just create a line that the enemy is going to have to charge directly towards. The question is are the Rum Rats going to do it, or are they just going to kind of pull back, draw these guys back in? I think we're going to still have another few minutes before we see this battle really engaged in earnest. But I do feel like the Rum Rats are getting close to a point. There's kind of like a
And there is the gunboat bullying happening now, but
Yeah, sure.
it's for some reason the Sea Otters are not keeping their boats closer to their fleet, so it's just like you're just giving away points.
a little bit.
It's
right
that
now.
it's that surviving gunboat from earlier that they're chasing. It just didn't ever stay linked up with the fleet. And they only just now have brought out a replacement from their first one that sunk, which is what, almost 6 minutes ago, probably now.
Yeah.
So that was interesting that they didn't immediately pull out their spare, but I think they didn't because the Rum Rats were right next to their spawn and it would have just gotten
Right.
farmed.
Well, something
yeah,
they could have considered is to send that crew to the Surkoff over here and then ram the lock. Try
Yeah.
to outboard it. Since these are lightly manned boats, it's just the minimum crew, I believe. Yeah, it looks like 2 per, so it is just the minimum crew. 2 gunboat crew on one. Board them, take it out, get those points. Oh, here we go. It looks like fleet maneuvering's happening.
Yeah, the
Back
Rum
in the
Rats
main
have.
fight.
I think the eventually an admiral just says, all right, screw it. We gotta have this battle at some point. And I think the Rum Rats have gotten there. They're on the other side of these 3 islands. They're going to set up a line of battle. They've got the 8 guns, at least 2 of them, where they want them to be screening in front of the 17s. And I think, maybe we're wrong here. They're turning out again. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those scenarios. The Sea Otters are in a bad spot. Their 8 guns are far forward and in line of fire of the enemy 17s, while their 17s are farther back. So it's just do you accept the damage? Do you try to lure them in? Because it looks like the Rum Rats might be angling in now.
They seem to be. I think because they're noticing that they're actually not hitting the Sea Otters 8 guns. Like those 17 guns are still not quite in range. They're missing probably by like 50 to 100 meters, probably closer to 50. So now they need to get their line in, and the Sea Otters have had the time. I mean, the Sea Otters line is, what you want when you're engaging in a line-to-line battle. 8 guns set forward, 17 guns set backwards. So now we're seeing that the Rum Rats are going to try and turn in. They're going to take some heat doing so. That Renegade, the Rum Rats Renegade, that lead red French ship, is going to take a bit of a punishment coming in like this. But
here's the scenario. Look at that Corvette. Look at the Sea
I've been
Otters
wanting to bring
Corvette.
that up too.
I would
been wanting to bring
sacrifice my Corvette in that gap there to do as much damage as possible.
I would send it closer to its fleet, just skin the island right there, and just broadside with the island as cover, right where he's actually setting up. That's where I would have him set up, broadside.
But he does need to keep maneuvering. He does need to keep maneuvering, though.
Well, it seems like the Rum Rats are going to try and cut behind the Otters.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal here. Now the wind is horrendous for this maneuver. It is a terrible wind situation for them. It's going to be a very slow going. But that's what they seem to be set on doing. And can you ask for a better positioning for a Corvette than that?
I
No.
mean, not right now, but the Sea Otters
They're
also
17s.
need to focus fire.
Yeah,
Need to
tell us a
get
little
in
bit about the 17 maneuver from the Sea Otters, Muffin, because we're seeing them. They're also making a flanking.
Yeah, they're taking the way out. They're swinging out far. They have still a good distance from map edge, so they have plenty of room to maneuver. But they're trying to get at the enemy 17s because that's what's key. Take out. Yeah, I see a demasting in the middle of the fleet.
Yeah,
the Rum Rats
full
lost
demast.
full demast from the.
On the morning wood for the Rum Rats, yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So
And
the
then
question
Nemesis,
here,
look at its health.
I
Already
know,
a third of the health down. Doodle's a quarter down.
Well, it's driving. It's doing a drive-by in front of this entire fleet, so it's going to take some
Yeah.
punishment. The question is, does it survive? And I think the other question is, okay, so the Rumrats have made a sacrifice. Clearly, they have decided to take some serious damage to cut in and gain the weather gauge. Right? They're going to have the weather gauge in about a minute, and the Sea Otters are not. Is the damage they're taking going to be made up for the fact that they can now swing hard to starboard? They could swing to the east and have an incredible good wind. And
It
I don't know if the
depends.
answer is yes.
I don't think so
Yeah.
because they keep getting demasted. I mean, the
Ooh,
bowsprit
look
on
at
the
the
doodle
doodle.
right now.
Look at the doodle.
Yeah, the doodle. Half
It's in a
down.
bad spot. They need to punish it right now.
The
It's
doodle's lost its
stuck.
bowsprit, which the bowsprit helps it turn better than any of its other sails. It's very
Yes.
important for turning, not for speed, but for turning. And it's lost that, so it's not able to keep rotation up as well as it should.
And it's in range
the
of
doodle's going to
everything.
get punished here. Right
It's
now,
in range of
Sea Otters need to
everything.
commit to the doodle, kill the
Yeah.
doodle, get that 17 down, and then play defensively. You'll be up, and the Rumrats will be forced to attack. And right now, I believe the point differential is very close, but probably starting to lean towards the Sea Otters soon.
Ooh,
Especially when the doodle
the
goes down.
Rumrats Corvette's trying to come into play, and he's taking up a nice spot. He'll be able to hurt the 8s.
Yeah.
If he can distract the 17 guns at all, it will be a huge help to the
Yeah.
doodle. But I don't think the doodle survives this.
I
No.
mean, this is where you have to make the call. Do I try to trade one of my 8s? Because, I mean, look at the Sardine. The Sardine might go down. Here, it's getting hurt pretty hard.
Wow. It
I
could be
sacrificed Sardine 10 times out of 10.
it could be that the Kinlock might actually barely save the doodle, but I don't think so. I think those 17s are locked on the doodle, and the doodle is beat to hell.
Well, they're starting to overshoot the doodle.
And so now the question is can the Rumrats, using their wind advantage that they have now, cut behind the Grand Folk and do the same thing to the Grand Folk that the Sea Otters just did to the doodle? And that, I think, is the major question here. They have to turn this around by sinking a 17 gun as soon
One
as
hit
humanly
away, and the doodle is gone.
possible. Yeah, gone. All right, so now this is the moment, though. They have
But
sacrificed a lot for the position that they're about to have.
And the
the
Sardine
question
just
is-
went down. So they
And the
traded a 17 for an 8.
Well, I mean, at
And-
least it's something.
The Rumrats are in the better position right now. Their fleet has a pretty good angle, and they're going to punish the 2 rear Sea Otter 17. So
Demassing the Grand Folk right now is, I think, the most important thing that these guys could do. They have to stop it from escaping. If they can stop it from escaping, if they can knock down some masts and put some serious damage on it, holding it in place, that could turn this whole battle around in their favor. This is not out of the question that the Rumrats can turn this around, but I mean, it'll be a Herculean effort. And I don't
If they
see it
don't hit
happening.
take out those masts soon, it'll be in the next 30 seconds in a safer waters.
Absolutely. Oh, that was a risky play by the Rumrats, and it did not turn out in their favor, unfortunately.
Now, ship-wise, this is a tie. A 17
Yes.
is worth the same as an 8. The gunboats do not matter. But we gotta see point differential. Right now, this match comes to point differential.
Yes. Now, I think we're probably going to see there's the D mast in the Grand Folk. I think too little, too late, and not a particularly important mast.
Yeah,
that said,
just the rear. Yeah.
I mean, anything is going to help here. But they're gonna the Sea Otters are going to put the Grand Folk in reserve. They're going to get heavy on the repairs for it. You know, it is.
I mean, it's all about how do you want this fight to go? You know, the Admiral of the Sea Otters has to really look at it and be like, okay, where are all my ships? I need to reposition them to turn it into a fight that I want. Because right now, you know, no need to panic. You still got 14 minutes.
Right.
And you have this enemy 17 pretty far away while all of his smaller ships are fairly close. Can I turn my 17s slowly away to get out of range of the 8s and then punish them? You know?
Right now, they don't seem to be doing that with the Shember. And again, now the Rumrats have a very nice formation here, right? Like you said, that's a good formation. The Shember is very exposed. It is going to take much more damage, I think, than the somewhat, hurting nemesis on the Rum Rats. But I think if they can concentrate and focus fire, if that Kinlock could possibly get into range and really hammer the Sea Otters Chamber, this could turn around. I think the Sea Otters have to resist the temptation to keep the Grand Folk out of the battle because it's been a little bit hurt and it's probably very low on supplies, but it needs to get in there, and it seems like it is trying to get into this battle and turn its cannons on the red French ship, the Nemesis, the flagship that remains. Let's see if it can.
Yeah, at this point, like the Sea Otters 8s probably need to charge more to the south to kind of angle in, to kind of force the enemy line to kind of reconsider them as a maybe as a major threat, and not fully commit them as a charge, but you need to force the Rum Rats Admiral to like adapt to your type of maneuvers and things like that. So, because maybe in this type of fight right here, who knows which side it'll favor? Because the Sauerkraut, that middle 8 on the Sea Otter side, is kind of in a bad spot. I don't know what happened there, but he's kind of not able to help too much into the fight. He's kind of like stuck there.
Yeah.
Looking at both fleets right now, I think the Rum Rats Renegade, which is that lead 8 gun, the red lead 8 gun there, the French fleet is going to be the next one that sinks if it doesn't turn out here. But actually, as I say this, the entire Rum Rats fleet is now turning out. They do not like this. The wind position was slightly favoring the other the Sea Otters. The wall's coming up, and I think that's making the Rum Rats turn away. Now, do the Sea Otters smell blood and sail 100% against the wind to pursue is the question.
I think this is a good move from the Rum Rats, honestly. I think a reset is in order. They had, I think, a really good advantage when their entire fleet was firing at the lead 17, the Chamber. They did a lot of damage to the Chamber. We're not seeing that damage coming back, which means supplies are low. So both the Grand Folk and the Chamber are at least the Grand Folk is over, but they're close to half HP. So now what the Rum Rats need to do is find another situation in which they can focus fire on one of the 17 guns with all of their ships. Problem is, that Renegade looks like it is going down, and it needs to drop that. Yeah, there you go. Raise that square sail and hit the wet the sails command and get the hell out of here. Now, interestingly enough, all the way to the north, if we look all the way to the north, there are not anymore. They've despawned. There were a lot of supplies down there. There were a lot of supplies from the sunk 17 gun from the Rum Rats. I was wondering who was going to get them. Nobody got them. They're not gone because somebody scooped them up. They're gone because they despawned. They only last, I think, for about 5 minutes. That was an opportunity, I thought, for the Rum Rats to send a rowboat out there, and I think they might have. And I think the
Corvette picked him up, the Rum Rats Corvette, because he was in that area pretty close.
I was watching it earlier. There had to be at least like 7 or 8 that the Sea Otters sent out because it was near their spawn. They sent out rocket boats and gunboats to kill a rowboat that was trying to go get it. So it doesn't look like the Rum Rats got anything from it.
Now watch out for that fire there, Sea Otters. That's an unmanned gunboat.
Oh.
He missed, but
yeah,
close.
These guys got to get some control over their crews. All right, so we're seeing a situation right now. If the Grand Folk and the Chamber are not really in line here, the Grand Folk is the appealing target here. That said, I mean, the Nemesis is not really anywhere close to being able to do anything about it, but still. I think what the Nemesis has to do is they need to sink that gunboat and they need to send a rowboat out there and go get. I mean, they need every supply on the Nemesis they can possibly get right now. Though it seems like what the Rum Rats are thinking is they're going to do a charge to the south, try and wrap behind. What we're noticing here is that the Chamber, the rearmost yellow British ship on the Sea Otters, is the rearmost ship, which means it is kind of the tail that can be wrapped around behind and fired without the other ships being able to fire back. So let's see how.
And look at those 17s now of the Sea Otters protecting their gunboat and putting down a lot of fire towards the Nemesis. The Nemesis is in range of both those 17s.
But the Nemesis is looking good HP wise. I mean, it's certainly looking a lot better than the Chamber. If it can sink the Chamber here, and it is putting damage into it, if it can sink it, that is a huge turnaround for the Rum Rats, and that nearly evens up the score here. Nearly, not quite exactly.
That would put the favor in their favor the ship to ship sunk score though. That would give them a 2-1 lead.
It would. It would. And the Schumber is taking a heat. I mean, serious damage here. And you cannot say the same for the Nemesis. The Nemesis is holding
No,
on.
the Nemesis is taking.
Yeah, it has the best
damage.
angle right now. Like
It sure does. And it's got the wind. It's got the
Yeah.
wind. It's got great wind.
it's time to remaneuver the 17s, and it looks like they might be trying to chase away the enemy Corvette. But yeah, at this point, you need to reposition, try to get your 8 guns forward. Let them soak it up.
Yeah.
Some of
and
that
Frank, very isolated in the Kinlock, but you can't ask for a more effective Corvette captain. We've seen the Kinlock under Anne Frank over and over again be a decisive factor in these battles. And clearly, he is just baiting the Sea Otters Corvette to stay on him, while we see that the Sea Otters are basically trying to reform a battle line that has their port side cannons, their left side cannons facing towards the south. They want, and look at the Schumber. You can see it is hiding behind the Grand Folk now. The problem is, if the Rumrats understand their cannon distance exactly right, they can position the Nemesis to do a one-on-one battle, and I think the Nemesis wins a one-on-one battle with either of these 17 guns. It looks like their accuracy is a little bit better, where I'm noticing over the course of this battle. So we'll see. God, this is tense, and a very strategic placement of these ships. Constant lines reforming, constant reorientation of the battle to just eke out the smallest advantage, and each team really needs it. We only have 7 minutes left in this battle. Right now, we are looking at a virtual tie. It's going to come down to points. We will see. All right, Nemesis is cutting in.
The Sea Otters Corvette's out of the fight for a foreseeable future. It's been demasted. They're slowly trying to repair it, but that might be the sign that they're out of supplies.
I think it
Because
would
you
be up
can-
by now.
Yeah, because you can repair a mast without supplies. I believe it takes longer.
That was it's hard to tell. That was a pretty fast recovery. I really don't know. All
Had
right,
4
so
people on it too, though.
we've got the Grand Folk and the Schumber both firing long-range shots into the Nemesis. Nemesis trying to fire back. Obviously needs to target the Grand Folk. I think this is the point in which you've got to send the Kinlock in, and it's got to basically do a really fast sink of the caster, the Sea Otters, the British team yellow Corvette, and then it's got a round behind the Grand Folk. It might be just charging the Grand Folk right now because a 17 gun must sink. It must sink. I mean, this is the moment.
Because from the Sea Otters' point of view, maybe they need to leave that 17 gun alone and go after that hurt 8.
Anything. They just need a point. They
Yeah.
need a sink, right? Anywhere. So you got to take your hats off to the Rumrats. They have managed to keep this competitive. The Kinlock did end up kind of halting its charge towards the main enemy fleet of the Sea Otters to deal with the caster. Could not give the caster unfettered, access to shooting it without a response. So we're going to see that these 2 Corvettes are going to trade some fire here. We'll see which one wins, because the winner, I think, is going to determine what happened these last 5 minutes of battle.
Yeah.
I really think it is.
Well, the Falk needs to leave the Corvette alone and focus on that 17. Its angle, it's trying to take out that Corvette. Yeah, it is a scary threat. It needs to be dealt with, but when the line is right there and they're perfectly lined up,
The
and you
caster's
have
running.
the range.
And the wind advantage right now for the Rumrats is critical. And I don't know
Yes.
if the Sea Otters have noticed how bad the wind's about to be for them. They're going to have
Yeah.
to sail 100% against the wind, while the Rumrats 100% have the wind to their backs, which is where you want the wind.
And this puts the Folk in a very bad position because again, having the weather gauge, it lets you decide which ships are in range and which ships aren't. And right now, what the decision has been made is that the Schumber, I don't know if it's in range. I really cannot tell if the Schumber is in range. It looks like it is not, which means that
It
the
looks
Grand
it's
Folk,
just short.
yeah, so the
of 20
Nemesis
meters.
can 1v1 the Grand Folk. We're seeing hits from the Kinlock. The red French Corvette are landing on the Folk. So now we're seeing serious danger for the Sea Otters. If the Kinlock can cut behind, if the Kinlock can so much as sink an 8 gun, that will lock it for the Rumrats, and the Rumrats need to lock it right now. God,
Mhm.
this is
D-mast on
close.
the Grand Par.
Oh, that's not good. The Kinlock's got to go all in on the folk. And if it does, even if it sacrifices itself in doing so, and it's going to sacrifice itself in doing so, that may be the clinch that the Rum Rats need to come back in what could be a incredible comeback in this battle.
So the Kinlock turned off the engagement, is one hit away. There goes the Kinlock,
sunk.
but it
It's
doesn't
sunk.
count
Alright.
for ships.
Doesn't
doesn't
matter
count.
at all.
Yeah, come
Now,
on,
here's
Sea
the
Otters,
thing.
find that 8 gun. Find that 8 gun. It has a smidgen of health. Come on,
Oh,
call out
I
where
think
that
the
8
The
gun,
gun
is.
that the Renegade, which is this one for the Rum Rats, is about to sink, is the farthest away from the fleet, and is now going one-on-one with a Sea Otter's 8 gun.
They got to pull
and the
that thing
17
out.
might ram it. Yeah,
They got to pull that thing out. The 17 gun has to sink, and I mean the Grand Folk is so in danger right now. If they trade, if they lose the 17 gun but keep the, oh my god, wow, this is so close, unbelievable.
Does the Bingus ram the 17 and save their own 17 in the process?
Yeah, that's what the biggest needs to do. It needs to throw off that 17's aim.
And the
I
Nemesis
think
now
Grand
lost
Folk
a
is going down
mast.
any second now.
Bingus, did not go for the ram and is just blocking his team's shots. Oh,
That's unfortunate. There was a lot that they could have done here, but I think they might be really. I think they have very few crew. They've been boarded. All right, so now the Nemesis. It's within striking distance of the Grand Folk. Grand Folk is down. Nemesis
the
is
lead
still
is
up.
now gone in the Rum Rats, but
The
how
Renegade
long
is
can they
still up.
hold it?
Well, with 2 minutes to go, the Nemesis has got to get the hell out of the range of the Chambur. That 17 gun has to get, they have to just put everything in front of it. The Nemesis cannot go down right now. And it's
And look
demassed,
at the caster. Look at the caster, the Corvette for the Sea Otters. It's in attack range of the Renegade and going for the Nemesis. It might,
can
if
it get
it
a
sinks,
final
go for
volley
them.
off before it sinks? It's gonna be close. Come on, they gotta make
They're
those
gonna
shots.
shoot
Gets a
right
volley
now.
off now. Come on, caster.
Yes.
Renegade is down!
She's down, yeah.
And she sacrificed herself to get it.
It's tied up.
It's down to
my
points.
god. Now will the Nemesis go down? That's the closest ship to sink right now with
And
health.
it's taking serious damage here. And it's still
Oh my
taking damage.
god.
What
this
a
match,
battle.
This is the match that I hoped for when they first fought before the technical issues. This match is a beautiful match. This is showing me how both
Nemesis.
teams have dramatically improved throughout the season. And I
Nemesis
Chambray
can't wait
needs
to
to
see
put a
more from-
rowboat.
And there goes the Nemesis.
Nemesis is down. So I think we can safely say that the Sea Otters have won this battle.
Yes.
By
The Sea Otters have won by by ships sunk. The Sea Otters have sunk 3 ships to the 2 ships of the Rum Rats, and Corvettes don't count to that total there.
Yep.
But yeah, now it's just point farming. Can you gain points, protect points? Now it's just going to be 20 seconds of point farming. But God,
real.
what do you think of this match and what it means for both these teams today, especially the Sea Otters, who've now pulled off their first win of the season?
So this is going to be obviously a bitter disappointment for the Rum Rats. A bitter disappointment for the Rum Rats. I think they definitely felt momentum was on their side in the last game that had to be rescheduled, and I think the issue here was a very tough play to get around behind the enemy in a way that did not benefit them in the long run. It lost
I think
them
it was a
early 17 gun.
3.7k point differential.
That's so
which
close.
was very close.
That said, no doubt both teams have to leave this battle thinking we put everything out on the line.
They absolutely did.
This was a battle in which both teams showed incredible ability to prioritize ships, to jockey for position, to cannon accuracy at extremely long range, the utilization of ships, especially the Corvettes, as a threat to defer each other from being able to focus fire on each other. I think the only reason that we're not seeing a Rum Rats victory right now was a tough and very painful push against the wind to try and cut behind the Sea Otters that cost them that 17 gun. If not for that maneuver, I think that the Rum Rats would have won this one.
I concur with you. I think that was the pivotal point of this whole
Yeah.
match. Was exactly that.
What do you think, Muffin? What's your takeaway from all this?
Yeah, I think overall the Rum Rats, I do think overall did play better throughout the whole match. It definitely felt like they were controlling the tempo as compared to the Sea Otters. And just, that one mast, I don't know if they were trying to repair it and they didn't repair it in time or things like that. So, once that 17 went down, it got difficult for them, but I would say it was at the end there. Their Corvette didn't do what we thought it was going to dive onto the enemy 17 or to dive
Yeah.
onto the enemy 8. It kind of allowed itself to get hit hard by multiple angles, and then the Sea Otters then did what it needed to do. It was there in the middle of the fleet doing a lot of damage output and got those crucial last kills and last bit of damage onto the enemy. So,
Right.
that is the thing. If you make one missed call, or if your captain goes left instead of right, it can rapidly turn the tide of a
Yeah.
fight.
The end of the battle was like a chess match because at the end of a game of chess, when you start losing pieces, it opens up the opportunities for other pieces to start getting very offensive. And so when we saw trades start to happen at the end, we realized how open a single ship vanishing from the engagement could open up the options of all the ships nearby it. And as that created like a domino effect. Okay, one ship sinks, and then the others free up to gang up on another ship, and then that ship sinks, and then so on and so forth. That spiraled out of control. They had this sort of very tenuous equilibrium through the latter half of the battle, where nobody was sinking and everybody was chipping damage away at each other in this incredible tit for tat. Between the 17 guns at long range. And when things got close, unfortunately, just not having that extra 17 gun for the Rum Rats ended up just being something that they could not overcome. But it was just such an incredible fight. Like, wow, it was so good right into the end. We do have our admirals with us. I see Sir Digsby, Chicken Caesar, and a random Billy are two admirals for today. I want to start by saying to both of you that that was one of the best matches I've seen all season. That was incredible. We were on the edge of our seats to the very end, and I can only imagine that the two of you were as well. So we are going to start with the Sea Otters by a one ship and just a few thousand points are victor here in what was a just slug match towards the end. We have random Billy. Billy, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yeah, it
congratulations,
was
Billy.
very close.
Incredible rematch. This was the battle that we had been hoping to see last time, and we're so sorry that things got in the way of it. But I think for you guys, there was a desire to kind of prove the prognosticators wrong, that the battle was kind of not going your way in the last one. And obviously, you guys came out on top today. What do you, we're going to have a few questions for you, but my question is, what do you think was the turning point in your
I mean,
battle today?
when they turned into us just past the small island Shane, and we got that 17, basically, I could get every ship firing on one of the 17. At first, it was the Nemesis, and then the Doodle fell behind, and we managed to sink it there.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the main turning point. We lost a nade gun in the exchange, but it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, and you guys were even technically on the points, but by the end of the battle, the extra firepower really showed itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, I will pass it on to Muffin Top. Your question for our victorious admiral today.
Yeah, so Billy, I'm kind of curious, where did you want the initial engagement to begin? Because your fleet kind of seemed like to give the impression of angling in, then angling away. So, in your mind, where did you want the first fight to happen?
I mean, basically, my plan, if they went that way, was just to turn east and mirror them. But as they turned into us, basically, we kind of changed plan and just turned around so we would get some space to engage them while they came in. And then it just changed. You had to make some range because I wanted to reorganize a bit the fleet because we had fallen in a bit of disarray, which had cost us dearly during the last match. And yeah, we did manage to farm back into a nice formation, and after that, I just wanted to try to see if I could pick up a good fight. But I mean, the initial plan was just to basically mirror them or cut them off if they wanted to push into our side.
All right, yeah, and looked like it was definitely felt like a cat and mouse game between both your fleets, and it was
Yeah.
loads of fun watching.
Yeah, I wanted to keep the range advantage when I had 217 guns left. I mean, I didn't want them to get closed in by the Corvette or even the elite guns because it's sort of a good fight for them if they can't. I mean, they had taken both had taken a lot of damage too by that time.
All right, let's pass it over to Chewy. What is your question for Random Billy?
Well, congratulations on your first win of the season. And
Yeah.
what are you looking forward towards the next match that you need to improve on?
I mean, I feel like I've already given this answer a few times, but it's generally fleet cohesion. Just I mean, I would like basically to have a fleet that can, whatever happens, will stay in a nice formation and will be able to react very quickly. Here it was, I mean, it worked well enough, but I think this is the main point on which we need to work. I need to be clearer with my orders. I need to anticipate a bit more, and I need the captains to get more experience too. Yeah, it's work for all the team, I think. And also, just to say about it, yeah, it's feel nice to have a victory because it's like it's a concrete thing to have. I mean, we did a nice match against Karen, but like
Yes, you did.
victory is like a concrete thing to look at in terms of result.
Well,
Yeah.
Billy, I
can't wait
look
to see how you.
forward to you trying to keep that line in November when we
Oh
square
yeah,
off.
it's going to be interesting.
Well, lots of experience that you gained from this battle today for sure, and a great showing from the Sea Otters. So congratulations to all of you and your whole team. Let's move on to Mr. Digsby. So as far as defeats go, you really couldn't ask for a better loss than this. Statistically, this does not change your fourth place ranking.
No.
You are still fourth place, which is, I think, if you were going to lose, this very small margin of loss is exactly what you needed to keep your positioning, and it
Yes.
opens up the possibility that you guys are still absolutely in contention, not in contention, in the lead for the fourth place slot, which I know everybody wants, right? To be on
course.
that top four. That said, I want to just, I'm sure I'll think of a question while I'm saying this, but I need to congratulate your team on an incredible battle here. Your ability to maintain distance, and I'm sure when you listen back, you'll hear me say it, but your ability to maintain distance and continuously just threaten one of the two enemy 17 guns throughout the entire battle was like a master class in positioning and keeping the battle in favor on your terms. You had mastery over the wind over most of the latter half of the battle, and it really seems to me that just that just catastrophic loss of that 17 gun early on, it is by the smallest margin is what made you lose. And so that is, like, I think, a credit. This is one of those victories that proves the seriousness of your team. I'm sorry, one of the defeats that proves the seriousness of your team. So I know this is obviously a disappointment, but what are you taking from this?
Well, I think,
bringing in a
yeah,
future
I mean,
battle?
thank you very much for your comments, and obviously I'd like to congratulate Billy on a very good,
Thank you.
well-earned win there. I think from our perspective, it comes down to that fleet maneuvering aspects, and it's the biggest jump from going from playing naval on Holdfast up to the NSL. Is that requirement to work as a team and as a fleet and coordinate and always be supporting each other. And sometimes we don't always get it right. This wasn't our best performance in some respects. So we'll go away from this really and just be sort of more thinking about that aspect of it and trying to just make sure that as a team we're working together better and to prevent those opportunities from happening for the opponent.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will pass it on to Chewy. Chewy, what do you have for Digsby?
Again, congratulations on. I know it's a sad loss today, but you kept it close. You kept it competitive, and for the longest time, I did actually think the Rum Rats were going to win today. Um, but what improvements do you think are going to come
I
from this
think
match specifically?
from this one particularly, I think again it is down to that. It's the tactical side of things there. We played quite aggressive. Um, we were sort of trying to force an engagement with the opponent constantly, and I think on a couple of occasions that led to us not really fighting on the terms that were the most favourable to us. So if anything, I think the lesson really is for me just to go back and look and make sure that I'm picking the right fights at the right time in order to get the most out of my crews.
All right, thank you.
You know,
Because you did
excellent.
wait a long time for your first engagement, real engagement there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there
It
was
was it
a
was
lot
fun
of
to watch you all go in a circle for a long time there.
Yeah.
yes, there was
Well,
a
you
bit
know,
of fencing, and then we decided at that point it was like, let's just get on. Let's get on with this, and maybe that aggression cost us a little bit.
Yeah.
all right, Muffin.
So at the end there, when your fleet had a pretty good line and you were diving in on, still trying to circle around behind them, your Corvette was kind of in the lead, and we were looking at it like, he doesn't have the 17 range or gun advantage anymore. You know, technically the Billy's 17s are kind of trading fire with him. It definitely overall, it did feel like your guys' gunnery was slightly better than the Sea Otters. So what did you give a final order to that Corvette? Because it felt like he wanted to go in, but he didn't commit. What was going on there?
So with the Corvette there at that particular moment was a case of we absorbed a lot of damage on the Nemesis, the surviving 17, and I was aware that basically we needed to get in there and we needed to get one of their ships, and it was that perhaps as being a bit too aggressive, and perhaps maybe my orders weren't the clearest to them. We'll certainly review that as a group afterwards. But in that case, that was very much me trying to see if we could get one ahead to move the pressure away from us and back onto the Sea Otters, which is why we made that maneuver.
I mean, if you want my opinion on it, because I was on the opposite side, at this point we couldn't afford to shoot anything but the ship we wanted to sink, the main capital ships. And firing on the Corvette was, we had to do it at some point because we had to defend ourselves. But every shot on the Corvette was a bit painful because I wanted them on the already very low 17 and the basically sinking 8 gun. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, I appreciate that, and it was part of the idea was to kind of distract you from shooting at me a little bit, as callous as that sounds.
I mean, that is the role of the Corvette and the
It's the
guns
right
and the
choice.
8 guns.
It's the right choice.
It is the choice to make at times, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to certainly give credit to you guys, Billy. I think you put in a significantly match in performance compared to the first match we had, and I think that really is a credit to you guys that you were able to come in and really run to that level and just force that kind of fight upon us. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a nice match. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were able to fight in much better condition, it's also very good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I said it at the beginning of the broadcast, but I want to make sure I say it to you guys and hope all your crews here. The sportsmanship and the consideration of both teams in having this rematch to make sure that fair is fair is something that needs to be celebrated, I think, because it really shows a level of integrity on everybody's part. And I know there's got to be a lot of hurt feelings going around about the fact that this match had to exist at all. And I certainly don't blame anybody and take kind of responsibility on our shoulders for the fact. But it is again, it's just this league has been founded on such a sense of friendly and respectful rivalries between these teams, and the fact that you guys upheld that when it was hard especially to the Rumrats. Held it up when it was hard. It just goes to show, again, the integrity of your team, and we are extraordinarily grateful for it. And so I want to thank you personally, Digsby, and your whole team for it. And of course, for the Sea Otters for coming back and fighting this again. And I hope that the rest of this season rewards you for what you have done here. And thank you. Okay, that's it. We're gonna close up shop here, folks. We have. I will not be in the host booth next week. Neither will Chewy. Actually, Chewy will just be doing something really cool, unfortunately, on not the NSL. But we will be fighting the Leviathans versus the Krakens next week. We will put on a show for you as best we can, and I look forward to seeing you all after the fact. And keep tuning in. We're so glad to be back for what has been a pair of incredibly fun to watch games since the resumption of the season, since everything in Holdfast has been fixed, and we are now back. Naval is back, baby, and we are enjoying the hell out of it. So again, thank you to our admirals, Sir Digsby Chicken Caesar, great reference by the way, love it, and Random Billy and their teams for a great week 10 of season 2. And thank you to my co-hosts. We have both Chewy and Muffin. Look forward to seeing you guys in the host box again. Thank you to all of our behind the scenes setup, our director prof, all of the correspondents and camera people who are out there making sure that you guys get to see every angle of these incredible games. And thank you, viewers, for joining us every Sunday for the Naval Sports League. See you next time.
Thank you very much.